So in this video I would like to show you how to read the chart using all the price action patterns I've already talked about. I would like to show you how to read the patterns, what to notice in any chart, and most importantly how to put everything together to create sort of complete picture. When you have a complete picture, then you won't enter any crazy trades that would make no sense, and you will be trading more in line with the charts and your trading will be much more successful. So let's get to it, let's have a look at the chart. For this demonstration I chose the Standard & Poor's index and I chose the 4-hour chart. It doesn't really matter which trading instrument you choose or which time frame you choose, the logic and the patterns are always the same. Alright, so let's get to it. Let's start, for example, in here. There you can see a rotation, which is followed by a strong trend development, and the trend development ends with a strong rejection of lower prices, which indicates aggressivity of buyers. This is the rejection. Then there's another rejection in here, and afterwards you can see that the rejection started an uptrend which starts in here and goes to this place. Alright, so the rejection started the uptrend. Those are the first signs of aggressive buyers. Another thing to notice in here is this week high. And as you can see, the price went past it pretty aggressively. Then those rejections worked as a support. As you can see, it was a resistance in the past, in here. And then the price went past it and it worked as a support. The same thing goes for this rejection. The price went past it, also this one, alright? So this was a strong resistance, then the price went past it and it became support. This is the reaction to the support. You can also notice that within this uptrend there are smaller rotations in which volumes are accumulated. Buyers are adding to their positions there in those rotations. And for example, in here you can see how the buyers were defending their positions which they accumulated in this rotation, and this level worked as a support. Alright, so let's move forward. After this trend there was a rotation, price reacting, as I already said, to volumes in here and also to this resistance which became support. So after the rotation there was strong rejection of lower prices, which is a sign of aggressive buyers. And then, as you can see, there were some weak highs in here, in here. Also this one is sort of weak high. And the price finally went past them, past those weak highs, in a pretty swift move and into a new uptrend. Then there was a little pullback in the uptrend in here. And the reaction was, again, to rotation area, to a place where the buyers were adding to their positions to push the uptrend even higher. This is the place, this is the rotation. And this is where the buyers were adding to their volumes. And as you can see, they were defending those volumes, they were defending their positions. Alright. So what happens next is that weak high is created, which is sort of weird because if the trend is over, then there should be a strong high, like this one. But there is only a weak high, which is a sign that the trend may not yet be over. Afterwards, there is a strong rejection of lower prices, which is a sign of strong buyers. In this case, the sellers were stronger. They pushed the price below the rejection of lower prices, below this point. And there was a rotation in here. As you can see in the rotation, there were rejections of lower prices, rejections of higher prices. This is temporary balance, alright? And when the price finally left this rotation area, it shot upwards, aggressive movement, and finally it took this weak high and went past it. Alright, so you can see that eventually this weak high got tested. A strong support in this case is this line, because as you can see, it worked as a strong resistance. And when the price went past it, it became a support. Alright, so this should be a strong support. If there was a pullback, it would be a good place to go long from. Anyways, here's the uptrend. And as you can see, this weak but otherwise significant high works as a support. So it is again resistance becoming support setup. Right here, this is a failed auction. And failed auction should get tested, and there should be a successful auction. As you can see in here, the price went few pips below the failed auction to create a successful auction. Also, this is a strong rejection of lower prices, sign of aggressive buyers. Talking about the weak highs and weak lows, there are some worth noticing. This is a weak high, which gets tested, pretty aggressive buying activity. Then this is a weak high. Again, the price shots past it, tests above it. This is weak low. And again, the price tests it. Alright? The price continues into a strong uptrend, strong buyers present in the market. In case like that, you don't really want to take any shorts. At this place, you can compare how aggressive the buyers are and how aggressive the sellers are. So you can see this weak high and this weak high. And then, on the contrary, you can see this strong low and this strong low. So those are signs of aggressive buyers, and those are signs of passive sellers, of not really strong sellers. Alright, so as you can see, the aggressive buyers are stronger and they are pushing the price upwards. One more thing worth noticing here is those rejections, which worked as a resistance, and when the price went past them, they became supports. So this is a support. When the price made a pullback, the old resistance worked as a support. Alright, and the buying activity continues. Also, this pullback went exactly into this little rotation where buyers were adding to their buying positions. So those buyers were defending their buying positions, which they were adding in here in this rotation. From there, they pushed the price upwards. So basically we have two setups: resistance becoming support, and this little rotation setup. both setups confirm a strong support level in here. In the middle of this trend area, you can also see that there was a rotation where buyers were adding to their buying positions. This is another thing to notice when you see a trend like this. Now, here is basically the same scenario as before. Those 3 rejections of higher prices worked as a resistance in the past. Also, this weak high worked as a resistance in the past. Now, let me draw a line in here. And this is exactly the place where the pullback occurred. This is exactly the place where the price reacted. And it did not only react to the resistance becoming support, but it also reacted to this rotation. The buyers who were adding to their buying positions in here were defending their buying positions when the price made a pullback, and they pushed the price upwards from this level again. Alright, so that's basically the same setup as before. The same thing happened. Also, what we have here is sort of weak high, and as you can see, the price again tests above it. Now, it gets pretty funny, because the same scenario happens again. We have this weak high, and also this high. Then we have a rotation in here, and if I draw a line in here, like this, then you can see that it is exactly the place where the price retraces, makes a pullback, and reacts to. So again, for the 3rd time, the same thing happened. Weak highs get tested, the price goes past them, there's a rotation inside the trend area, buyers adding to their buying positions there, the price retraces and reacts exactly to this zone and continues upwards. So the next thing that happened is a rotation. Here's a rotation, then the price shifts downwards and another rotation. What happened in those rotations is that the buyers from this uptrend most likely got rid of their positions and sellers were taking over. So in a rotation, sellers were building up their positions. Afterwards, they initiated a new trend. So, after this aggressive trend development, you can see that there is a strong rejection of lower prices, which, as I said, indicates an end of a trend or a temporary end of a trend. In this case, you can see that it was only a temporary end of a trend. So there was a little rotation, false breakout, and again the selling activity continued. The downtrend continues. By the way, this is a weak high which should get tested. So as the trend continues downwards, there is a strong rejection of lower prices and a rotation in here. And this tells you that the trend could temporarily be over, or that there could be a new trend. In this case, this downtrend is over and there is a new trend, new uptrend. What is also worth noticing is this rejection of higher prices. And as you can see, this resistance worked as a support when there was the pullback. Afterwards, there's a weak high. And this is kind of funny because normally I would think that this weak high would get tested. And in this case, there was another weak high, almost exactly at the same level. And the level did not get breached. This is not what usually happens, but it happened in here. The trend turned and there was another selling activity in here. And by the way, one small thing to notice. This resistance also worked as a support. The reaction was not so aggressive, not so strong, but it was there. This is exactly the place where it turned for a little pullback. Have a look at this trend. You can see that there were rotations within the trend area, sellers adding to their selling positions there, afterwards pushing the price even lower. Then what happened is that those aggressive buyers who rejected the lower prices in here started defending their buying positions and they pushed the price upwards. This is a reaction to this rejection, alright? To this aggressive rejection. One small thing to notice is a failed auction in here. Those three highs form a failed auction which gets breached in here. Alright, and then the price continues upwards. The price opens in here and there's an opening gap. And usually gaps like that got filled pretty quickly. If they don't, then there is a strong trend. So if the price continued upwards from this place without filling the gap, then most likely it would be a start of strong uptrend. In this case, the gap got filled pretty quickly with aggressive selling activity. Afterwards, another gap, price goes lower, makes a rejection of lower prices and tests this weak low, tests below it. Then there are some rejections of lower prices in here, and this gap gets filled with this rejection of higher prices. So the gap is filled and there is a little rotation in here, a little sideways price action, not much happening, only sellers adding to their selling positions to continue in the trend to push the price even lower. So I would say that in this downtrend, the sellers were adding to their positions in here. Most likely they were building up their selling positions in here, also in here, then in here in this rotation, then in this rotation. Alright, so it's always rotation, trend, rotation, trend, rotation, trend, rotation, trend. So after the trend development, what happens is strong rejection of lower prices, which, as I said many times already, is a sign of the end of the trend. So strong rejection of lower prices indicates aggressive buyers, and new trend starts from there, from this aggressive rejection. And again, in this uptrend, you can spot places where there were rotations and aggressive trend development. So it's always rotation followed by a trend, rotation, aggressive trend, rotation, trend. You can also notice how this weak high gets breached, gets tested, and also the pullbacks within the trend are in here, where there was a resistance. Those highs mark resistance, and the price makes a pullback to them. So it works as a support. Then this weak high also works as a resistance in here, Again, the price makes a pullback to it and reacts to it very nicely, very precisely. Then there is this high and the price reacting to it again. It's not that clear at this place, but pretty nicely visible how the price reacts to this level. Alright, to this resistance, which became a support. This is very weak high. At first, the price doesn't go past it, but the second test goes past this weak high. Alright? So, what happens next is the uptrend continues, and the pullback which the uptrend makes in here to those two rejections of higher prices. So this was a strong resistance of higher prices, then the price went past it and it became a support. So again and again, the same setup, resistance becoming support. By the way, also this week high worked as a resistance, and then the price went past it, it became a support. This is where the price reacted, made a pullback and then went upwards again. And also you can see that within the uptrend it's always rotation, aggressive development, rotation, aggressive development. Then there's the pullback, rotation, aggressive development, rotation, aggressive development. So what happens next is a rotation. There are rejections of lower prices, rejections of higher prices, rejection of lower prices, weak rejection of higher prices, and rejection of lower prices. So rejections like that are a sign of temporary balance. From this balance, from rotation like that, there could be a start of a new trend, or the old trend could continue. In this case, there was downtrend, but it ended with aggressive rejection of lower prices. This is the aggressive rejection of lower prices, and the price goes into uptrend, shoots past this week high, and goes into another buying activity. Within this uptrend, there are some rotations in which buyers are adding to their buying positions, and when the price makes a pullback to those levels, those buyers from those rotations are defending their buying positions, pushing the price upwards. Alright, from here, those two nice reactions. From here, this reaction, this reaction. In the end of this uptrend, there's aggressive rejection of higher prices, which could mean temporary end to uptrend. Then there is a rotation with weak high, by the way, which doesn't get tested. And in rotation, either buyers or sellers can be adding to their positions. In this case, it's buyers building up their positions, afterwards then continue in the uptrend. And again, you can see within the uptrend rotations and aggressive buying areas. Rotation, aggressive buying activity. And again, the pullbacks are to those rotations. So the buyers who are adding to their positions in those rotations are defending their positions, pushing the price upwards from those rotations. This rotation in here, this is a reaction to it. Another reaction to it. One more thing worth noticing, this high, which worked as a resistance zone, the price went past it, it became a support. So that's another reason for the pullback being in here. Nice reaction to this rotation is in here. Again, those buyers who are adding the buying positions in this rotation are defending their buying positions from this place, pushing the price upwards again. Those are the places the price likes to react to. Again, rotation and test of the rotation in here. Then there's a weak high and the price goes aggressively past it. Alright, I could continue like this for hours, guys, but I think you got a picture. This is how you implement all the price action patterns which I showed you to create a complete picture which will help you predict how the charts will move. And this method, combined with volume profile, which I'll cover next, will create a very solid edge in your trading. And it doesn't matter if you trade futures or forex or indices, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you trade 4-hour charts or daily charts, or if you are a scalper, or if you trade intraday trades using 30-minute charts like me. It doesn't matter. All trading instruments and all time frames work on this logic which I showed you, and on the logic I'll show you with the volume profile. Alright, so I hope that this price action section helped you, and I'll see you in the next video.